Once upon a time in the lush, green jungle lived a little monkey named Milo. Now, Milo was an ordinary monkey in an extraordinary jungle. He swung from tree to tree, ate yummy bananas and had lots of fun. But there was one thing that set Milo apart from all the other monkeys. You see, Milo loved music more than anything else in the entire world. And he wanted to start his very own band. One day while swinging through the jungle, Milo found an old, discarded banana peel and he started tapping on it. It made a dull thud sound, not nearly as good as what he was imagining. So Milo kept searching for something, anything, that would make a good instrument until he heard a beautiful singing sound. At the top of a tall tree sat a pretty parrot singing along to a tune. "Hello," said Milo. "My name is Milo and I'm starting a band. Would you like to be in it?" The parrot stopped singing and looked at Milo. "Me in your band? But I don't play an instrument." "That's all right," said Milo. "I'm sure you can think of something." The parrot thought for a moment. "Well, I do have a pretty good singing voice. Maybe I could be your band's singer." "Perfect," said Milo. "Let's call you Songbird." And so Songbird joined Milo's band. Now they needed an instrument, something to make the beat. As Milo and Songbird walked through the jungle looking for something, anything, that would make a good instrument, they heard a loud trumpeting sound coming from behind a bush. Milo and Songbird peeked around the bush and saw a large elephant spraying water from his trunk. "Hello," said Milo. "My name is Milo and I'm starting a band. Would you like to be in it?" The elephant stopped spraying water and asked, "Me in your band? But I don't play an instrument." "That's all right," said Milo. "I'm sure you can think of something." The elephant thought for a moment. "Well, I do have a pretty good trumpet sound. Maybe I could be your band's trumpeter." "Perfect," said Milo. "Let's call you Trumpet." And so Trumpet joined Milo's band. Now they needed something to make the rhythm. As Milo, Songbird and Trumpet walked through the jungle looking for something, anything, that would make a good instrument, they heard a loud snapping sound coming from behind a rock. Milo, Songbird and Trumpet peeked behind the rock and saw a huge crocodile lounging in the sun. "Hello," said Milo. "My name is Milo and I'm starting a band. Would you like to be in it?" The crocodile opened one eye, then the other, and said, "Me in your band? But I don't play an instrument." "That's all right," said Milo. "I'm sure you can think of something." The crocodile thought for a moment. "Well, I do have a pretty good snapping sound. Maybe I could be your band's snapper." "Perfect," said Milo. "Let's call you Snaps." And so Snaps joined Milo's band. Now Milo's band was complete. They had a singer, a trumpeter, and a snapper. All they needed was a name. "How about the Jungle Jammers?" suggested Songbird. "That's great," said Milo. "The Jungle Jammers it is." And so the Jungle Jammers practiced and practiced. Trumpet played lively notes on his trunk. Snaps snapped along to the beat. And Songbird sang at the top of her lungs. And of course, Milo was there with his trusty banana peel, keeping the rhythm going. One day the Jungle Jammers were ready to give their first concert. They gathered all the animals in the jungle, from the tiniest ant to the biggest hippo. Then Milo raised his banana peel. "Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are the Jungle Jammers and we are gonna play you our favorite jungle hits." The animals cheered and the Jungle Jammers began to play. Snaps snapped his jaws along to the beat, keeping the rhythm going. Trumpet played lively notes on his trunk, making the animals dance. And Songbird sang sweet melodies that echoed through the trees. And of course, Milo was there with his trusty banana peel, keeping the beat going and smiling from ear to ear. As the concert went on, more and more animals joined in. The monkeys swayed their tails, the parrots flapped their wings, and even the crocodiles tapped their feet. It was the liveliest jungle concert the animals had ever seen. After the last note was played and the last animal had danced, everyone gathered around Milo and his band. "That was the most wonderful concert I've ever heard," said a ladybird. "You truly are the Jungle Jammers," said a wise old turtle. "Thank you," said Milo, blushing. It was so much fun playing for you all. From that day on, the jungle jammers played for the animals in the jungle every day. They traveled from tree to tree, rock to rock, bringing music and joy to all the animals. And although their instruments were a little different, their music was beautiful. Now whenever you hear a monkey tapping on a banana peel, an elephant trumpeting, a crocodile snapping, or a parrot singing, you know that the jungle jammers are playing. Reminding all the animals and us that no matter what you have, you can make music, you can make art, you can make something beautiful. And that's the end. It doesn't matter if you don't have the right instruments or the fanciest materials. All that matters is that you have the creativity and the imagination to make something beautiful. Just like Milo and his friends, we can all make music with whatever we have. If you liked this story, be sure to leave us a like and a comment below. What instrument do you play? And if you haven't already, subscribe for more musical adventures. Thanks for watching. Lion. Now Leo was a kind and gentle soul, but he was also very embarrassed. You see, when Leo tried to roar, he sounded more like a squeak than a ferocious beast. And let's just say the other jungle animals found this very amusing. One day, fed up with his pathetic roar, Leo decided enough was enough. He was going to become the king of the jungle one day, and he needed a proper royal roar to go with it. So Leo left his home and set off into the jungle to find an animal who could teach him how to roar like a lion. As he walked through the trees, Leo heard a squawk and saw a beautiful blue and gold parrot perched on a branch. "Excuse me," said Leo politely, "but would you mind showing me how you make that loud noise you just made?" The parrot cocked her head and looked at Leo as if he were crazy. "Why would I do that? That's my personal noise. Why should I show you?" "Well, you see, I'm a lion and I need to learn to roar, but mine comes out all squeaky and I think it's because I haven't practiced." The parrot shook her head. "Practice your squeak somewhere else, little lion cub. This is my jungle and you are not welcome here." So Leo continued on his way feeling dejected. He walked past tall trees and vines until he came across a clearing where a troop of monkeys were playing. One monkey in particular caught Leo's attention. He was swinging from vine to vine with such agility and making loud grunting noises that echoed through the trees. "Excuse me," said Leo, trying to sound confident, "but would you mind showing me how to make that noise you just made? I want to learn to roar." The monkey stopped his game and stared at Leo. "You want to learn to roar? You're a lion. You're supposed to be born knowing how to roar. If you can't roar, then there's something wrong with you." Leo felt his ears burning with shame. Was the monkey right? Was there something wrong with him? Maybe he was just born with a squeaky roar and that was it. There was no hope for him to become the great king of the jungle after all. Just then, one of the female monkeys spoke up. "That's enough, Runt. Don't you know he's just a little cub? Of course he doesn't know how to roar yet. Here, little lion cub, come over here and let me show you." The monkey called Runt grumbled and rolled his eyes, but Leo was grateful for the female monkey's kindness. She showed him how to position his mouth and how to control his breathing so that his roar would echo through the jungle. Leo practiced and practiced, and although he wasn't quite as loud as the monkeys, he was getting the hang of it. Just then, Runt piped up. "Hey, maybe you don't need to roar like a monkey or a lion. Maybe you should roar like me." He took a deep breath and let out a blood-curdling scream. Then he added in a sing-song voice, he. Leo shuddered. "No, thank you. I don't want to roar like a hyena." Runt stuck his tongue out and made a face. "Oh, yeah, well, you wouldn't last a day in the wild without your mommy Hess milk if you try to roar like a lion. You're just a big softy." With that, Runt ran off, leaving Leo feeling sad and discouraged once again. But the female monkey came over to Leo and said, "Don't listen to him, little lion. He's just a big bully. Don't let him bring you down. Now, let's practice that roar some more." After a while, Leo was exhausted and his throat was sore from all the roaring. He flopped down on the ground and sighed, "I'll never be the great king of the jungle if I see a ant roar like everyone else." The female monkey sat down next to Leo and said, "Being the king of the jungle isn't about having the loudest roar. It's about being brave, kind and strong. But I want to have a loud roar. That's what all the other animals have. They all have special sounds they use to talk to each other. And I want one, too. The female monkey smiled and said, then you need to find an animal who can help you discover your special sound. But how do I do that? Well, you need to keep trying, little lion. Don't give up. And with that, Leo was off again, searching the jungle for his special sound. He walked for a long time until he came across a small pond. As he bent down to take a drink, he heard a croaking sound. He looked around, but couldn't see anything. Then he noticed a small frog sitting on a lily pad in the middle of the pond. "Excuse me," said Leo, "but would you mind showing me how you make that loud noise you just made? I want to learn to make a sound just like it." The frog blinked slowly and said, "Why should I do that? My croak is my personal sound. It's nothing for you to copy. But you don't understand. I'm a lion and I need to make a loud sound. All the other animals have one, but I don't. I just squeak." The frog jumped off the lily pad and hopped closer to Leo. "All the other animals get to make their sounds, but you don't. So you want to be like them?" "Well, yes, I guess I do." The frog looked at Leo for a moment. Then he said, "All right, I'll show you how to make my sound, but you have to promise not to laugh at me." Leo nodded his head. "I promise." The frog took a deep breath and croaked loudly. Then he said, "Now it's your turn." Leo took a breath and tried to copy the frog's sound, but all that came out was a squeak. The frog rolled his eyes and said, "I told you not to laugh at me." "I'm not laughing. I'm trying to figure out how you do that sound." "Your turn." Leo tried again, but all he got was another squeak. He was just about to give up when the frog spoke up. "Listen, little lion. It's not about copying someone else. It's about finding your own voice. You are a lion, and lions don't croak like frogs. They roar." Leo thought about what the frog had said. Maybe he had been trying too hard to be like the other animals. Maybe he needed to embrace what made him unique, his squeaks. So he took a deep breath and let out a loud squeak. And to his surprise, it didn't sound squeaky at all. It sounded like a lion. In fact, it sounded like the most magnificent roar Leo had ever heard. The frog and the monkeys who had been watching in the trees cheered for Leo. "You did it, Leo." The frog exclaimed, "That was a mighty roar." Leo was surprised. He didn't know he could make a sound like that. He felt proud and happy. He finally had his roar, and it was perfect for him. From that day on, Leo used his roar to protect the jungle and all the animals in it, including the frog and the monkeys who had helped him find his voice. And as for the parrot, well, she never changed her mind about sharing her personal noise with anyone. But Leo didn't care because he was too busy being the happiest lion in the jungle, roaring as loud as he could. The end. Sammy the seagull had a big dream. He wanted to fly higher than any seagull had ever flown before. One day, Sammy was soaring above the ocean with his family when suddenly he turned to the right, then to the left, and then up he went. Higher and higher he flew until he saw his mom waving her wings frantically from way down below. She looked tiny. Sammy felt scared, but also really cool. He'd never felt so free. He didn't want to stop flying. He asked his mom, "Can I fly higher than this?" "Higher than this," she said, tilting her head back, "is just impossible for a gull like you." Sammy thought, maybe I'm not like other seagulls, but why would I want to be like them? Why can't I be me? It didn't matter if he wasn't like the other seagulls. He was going to fly higher than any seagull ever. But first, he needed some help. As Sammy glided along the coast, looking for someone smart to talk to, he spotted an old pelican sitting on a rock. The pelican had a hooked nose and wore a necklace made of shiny pebbles. He must have been very wise, thought Sammy. So Sammy landed next to him and politely asked, "Excuse me, are you wise?" "Me?" The pelican looked at him with one eye open and one closed. "Me wise? Well, I suppose I am. I've lived a long life after all." "That's exactly what I need," said Sammy. "I'm Sammy, and I need your help." Will you help me reach my goal? Said the pelican. Well, I guess I do have a little time. All right, what is it you wish to do? I want to fly higher than any seagull ever. And how exactly do you plan to do that? Well, that's the thing. I don't know. That's why I need your help. Oh, young Sammy, sighed the pelican. If only you had asked me this question last week, I could have helped you. You see, I was going to fly with a friend of mine tomorrow. She flies a hot air balloon. She goes everywhere, too. Just last week, we were floating above the clouds chasing rainbows. If you'd asked me last week, I could have introduced you. Do you think I could still ask her? Asked Sammy hopefully. Said the pelican. I guess I could introduce you. But I don't know if she'll agree. You see, she's rather shy. Don't worry, said Sammy, puffing out his chest. I'm sure I'll make her day. Thank you so much, Mr. Pelican. This is gonna be great. And with that, Sammy took off to find the balloonist. It wasn't long before he heard the whoosh of air escaping from somewhere above. He looked up and saw not a cloud in the sky, just endless blue. But then he noticed something floating lazily nearby. At first, it looked like a small brown circle, but then it got bigger and revealed itself to be a bright yellow balloon. Beside it floated a woman wearing a striped bathing suit and a wide-brimmed hat. Sammy swooped closer and called out, "Excuse me." The woman turned her head and gave a friendly wave. "Hello," she said. "My name is Sammy. Do you mind if I ask you a favor?" "Of course not," she said. "Ask away. Would you please take me with you wherever you're going? I promise I won't bother you." "Why, that sounds like fun," she said. "Hop in, Sammy." Sammy climbed onto the basket and thanked her. "Thank you so much. Are you going up now? Because if you are, I would really love to go higher and higher and higher." The woman laughed. "Well, I was going to go higher and higher and higher myself. So I guess we can do that together." And with that, she began letting out air from the balloon. Up, up they went, past the clouds and into the endless blue. Sammy looked back and waved to the ground where the pelican was looking up at them with one eye open and one closed. Sammy knew he'd make the pelican very proud. As they floated above the clouds, Sammy and the balloonist talked about everything and nothing. Then suddenly, the balloon started to wobble. "Uh-oh," said the woman. "Looks like we've hit some wind. Hold on tight, Sammy." Out they all went, wobbling and weaving above the endless blue. Soon they were over land. Sammy looked down and gasped. Right below them was a huge rainbow. "Wow," he breathed. But before he could say anything else, the wind suddenly picked up speed. "Woo!" shouted the balloonist as she tried to hold onto the ropes. "It's getting stronger," she yelled over the wind. Sammy flapped his wings hard, but the wind was too strong. The balloon was tugging him away from the rainbow. Sammy squeezed his eyes shut, but then something magical happened. A giant hand reached down and grabbed onto the ropes. Slowly, the wind died down and the balloon started to descend. When Sammy opened his eyes, he saw that the hand belonged to a giant bluebird. "Thank you," said the balloonist. "That was quite a ride. Would you like to come with us to the rainbow?" "A rainbow," chirped the bluebird. "Well, I do love a good rainbow. Lead the way." And with that, the bluebird spread his wings and headed toward the rainbow. Sammy and the woman followed close behind. When they reached the rainbow, Sammy couldn't believe his eyes. Everything was even more amazing up close. It sparkled like a million diamonds. The bluebird perched on one end of the rainbow and Sammy landed next to him. The balloonist sat down on the grass at the base of the rainbow. "This is magical," whispered Sammy. Suddenly, the balloonist started to cry. Sammy and the bluebird looked at each other, then back at the woman. "What's wrong?" asked Sammy. "I'm sorry," sniffled the woman. "It's just that I never get to enjoy these things. I spend all my time floating around, but I never get to enjoy the view. I work, I let air in, I let air out, but I never get to simply be here. Don't cry, said the bluebird. We can fix that. With that, the bluebird spread his wings wide and created a gust of wind. The wind swirled around Sammy and the woman, lifting her off her feet and depositing her gently inside the balloon. You see, said the bluebird, turning to Sammy, a balloon like this needs a lot of air to float. So I used to use my wings to blow air into her balloon. But nowadays, there's a machine that does it for me. But every once in a while, I like to blow air into balloons just for fun. And if I do that, well, I suppose I have time to play, too. He winked. So what do you say we ride this rainbow to the ends of the earth? Wow, breathed Sammy. That sounds incredible. Wait, I mean, yes, that sounds incredible. But I promised my mom I'd be home by dinner. Can't I at least stay for just a little while longer? The bluebird nodded understandingly. Of course. Being home for dinner is important, Sammy. But you can always come back and visit. We'll save you a spot right here. Thank you, said Sammy. And with that, he spread his wings and headed toward home. As he soared over the water, Sammy realized something. He'd flown higher than any seagull had ever flown before. And it was fun, really fun. But the best part of flying high, he realized, was having someone below to show the view to. Sammy spent the rest of the day showing off his amazing view to all his gull friends and family. They couldn't believe their eyes. Sammy had truly shown them the view from above. Deep in the heart of the colorful coral reef lived a sweet little turtle named Tilly. Every year there was a big ocean parade where all the sea creatures would line up and swim together through the coral archway. All the creatures got to show off their talents. The clownfish wiggled their funny little noses. The seahorses did flips and the dolphins jumped high above the water. But Tilly's favorite part was watching all the baby sea turtles hatch and waddle down the beach for the first time. One day, Tilly told her mom, "I wish I could be in the parade." Her mom said, "Of course you can, dear. Just follow me." Tilly wanted to be in the parade so badly, but when they reached the archway, her mom said, "You know, my dear, you're not very fast. It will take you hours to swim through this coral archway." "Oh, no," said Tilly. "I'm too slow. I'll never make it." So Tilly stayed behind hiding in the coral while her mom swam into the parade. At first, Tilly felt left out, but then she saw all the other baby sea turtles hatching. She felt much better because she knew that one day she would get to march in the parade, too. As the parade went on, though, Tilly got bored. She peeked out of the coral and saw all the other animals swimming past. Wait a minute, she thought. Why am I waiting here all by myself? Tilly decided to sneak out of the coral and go find the parade. She swam past a giant clam with flashing purple lips. "Excuse me," said Tilly. "Have you seen the parade? I want to join them." The clam snapped its shell shut. "Me? I don't know what you're talking about," it said. "I only open my mouth to eat tasty fish." Tilly didn't have time for that, though. She had to hurry if she wanted to catch up with the parade. She swam over some colorful coral heads and suddenly bumped right into something. Startled, Tilly turned around and saw a dolphin tangled in a mess of seaweed. "Oh, dear," said Tilly. "Let me help you." She nibbled at the seaweed, but it was too tough. She thought. "What do I do now?" Then she remembered something her mom had taught her. If you need help, ask a seahorse. Seahorses are always happy to help. Just then, a whole bunch of seahorses swam by. "Excuse me," called Tilly. "Could you help this dolphin? He's tangled in some seaweed." The seahorses were happy to help. They each took a turn pulling on the seaweed until the dolphin was free. "Thank you," said the dolphin. "That was so nice of you." "You're welcome," said Tilly. "But now I have to go. The parade's gonna start soon." "Well, I guess I'll see you later," said the dolphin.
Bye.
Tilly swam a little farther and heard some tiny voices calling for help. She looked down and saw 3 baby fish trapped in a crevice in the coral. Oh, dear, she said. I have to help them. Tilly guided each baby fish out of the crevice, one at a time. Be careful, she said. It's dangerous in these waters. There are hungry sharks everywhere. Thanks for helping us, said one of the baby fish. We're on our way to the East Coral to watch the parade. Want to come with us? I'd love to, said Tilly. Together, they swam toward the East Coral, but before long, the baby fish got tired. I think I need a rest, said one of them. Me too, said another. Tilly wanted to help them, but she couldn't carry all 3 babies on her back. She looked around for something to help and saw a piece of driftwood nearby. Tilly nudged the driftwood toward the baby fish. Here you go, she said. Take a ride on this. The baby fish climbed onto the driftwood and soon they were all fast asleep. They look so cute, said Tilly, but she knew she shouldn't be distracted. She had to keep moving if she wanted to see the parade. Just then, one of the baby fish woke up and cried, "Help, we're being attacked by jellyfish." Startled, Tilly turned around and saw hundreds of stinging jellyfish heading straight for the sleeping baby fish. Quick, I have to do something, she thought. Tilly curled up into a ball and rammed right into the jellyfish. The impact knocked the jellyfish off course and they drifted away from the baby fish. That was close, said Tilly. The baby fish woke up and cried, "Thank you, Tilly, for saving our lives." You're welcome, said Tilly. Now let's hurry up. We have to find the parade. Soon they arrived at the East Coral, but Tilly was disappointed. She couldn't see the parade anywhere. Just then, one of the baby fish said, "Look, there's a cave nearby. Maybe we can find the parade inside." Inside the cave, everything was dark and silent. Tilly couldn't see a thing. This place is scary, she thought. I wish I had brought a flashlight. Suddenly, she heard a voice that said, "Who's there?" Tilly froze. Was it a shark or a moray eel? Hello, she said. Is anyone home? Down here, said the voice. Tilly swam down a little and saw a bright light shining from a crack in the wall. She swam closer and realized that it was a small opening to a secret tunnel. Curious, Tilly swam through the tunnel. On the other side, she found herself in a beautiful garden filled with colorful coral and sparkling shells. And there in the middle of it all was a sign that said, "Welcome to the Hidden Coral." Tilly swam a little farther and gasped. In front of her was the biggest archway she had ever seen. It was made of shimmering pearls and sparkling jewels. And all around it were thousands of tiny lights that made the whole thing sparkle like a rainbow. As Tilly approached the archway, a spotlight suddenly shone on her. All eyes were on her. She was so surprised that she forgot to be scared. Slowly, Tilly swam through the pearl archway. And when she did, all the lights flashed at once. The crowd cheered loudly. Look, everyone, a turtle made it. Hooray, hooray, give her a big cheer. All the sea creatures crowded around Tilly. The dolphins, the seahorses, the baby fish, and even the sea turtles were there. They all cheered and clapped and waved their flippers. Tilly had never been so happy. As the parade began, Tilly swam right in the middle of the crowd. She wasn't last after all. She was the star of the show. She swam through the archway with her new friends, feeling proud and strong. Tilly learned that sometimes things don't go the way you plan, but that doesn't mean your day can't end happily. Colorful coral reef scenes, calming ocean sounds, and a message about patience, helpfulness, and not giving up. In the heart of the glistening Arctic, nestled amongst snow-covered rocks and ice, lived a happy polar bear family. Mama Polar, Papa Bear, and their little cub Penny. One day, Penny woke up feeling very excited. Today was her best friend's birthday, so she wanted to wake up early and help prepare the surprise party. But when she looked out of their igloo, she noticed something strange. All around them were sparkling glittery paw prints. At first, Penny thought that they might be from a seal, but no seal could leave such perfectly round prints. And besides, seals don't leave paw prints in the snow. This was very perplexing. As the sun rose higher in the sky, Penny's curiosity got the better of her and she decided to follow the glittery tracks to see where they led. The prince took her on a journey through an icy cave adorned with shimmering ice crystals. As she walked deeper into the cave, the walls started to close in, and before long, it was too narrow for her to turn around. With a little bit of wriggling, she managed to squeeze through. And on the other side, she found herself in a huge cavern filled with more glittery paw prints. Penny was amazed by the beautiful sight before her. Towering ice formations glittered like diamonds against the backdrop of the endless white snow. It looked like a real-life snow globe. As she made her way further into the cavern, the prince led her across a frozen lake and up a tall, steep hill made of ice. The prince stopped at the top of the hill. And when Penny reached the summit, she saw more penguin friends. They were all gathered together chattering excitedly and making lots of noise. And at the bottom of the hill, she could see her friends and family waving and shouting surprise. It was all a big surprise party for her best friend, Pip. Penny couldn't believe it. How had they kept it a secret? She had no idea. Whoopee. She wanted to join in the fun, but first she had to get down the hill. So she sat down on her bottom and slid all the way to the bottom. And it was great fun. The snow crunched and crackled under her weight and she laughed as she went faster and faster. But then she realized she didn't have any control over which direction she was going. She tried to steer with her paws, but it just made her go in circles. Finally, she came to a stop right in front of her friends and family. Mama Polar Bear gave her a big hug. "You almost made it." Papa Bear ruffled Penny's fur. "You look like a snowball." And little Pip said, "You're here. Let's play some games." Penny spent the whole day playing in the snow with her friends. They slid down the hill again and again. They pretended to be seals trying to catch fish. They made snow angels and had snowball fights. And at one point, Penny even tried building a snowman, but she kept making snow bear cubs instead. Then they played hide and seek. "Ready or not, here I come," called out Penny. She closed her eyes and started counting. But after a while, she heard giggles and saw little peaks of black and white fur popping out from behind the snowdrifts. Someone had told her friends where to hide. She wasn't very good at this game. Soon it was time for opening presents. Pip had been given a brand new sled and a pair of skates. "Thank you," said Pip. He had been wanting these for ages. Penny had also received a present. It was wrapped in colorful paper and topped with a big red bow. She carefully unwrapped the paper to reveal a shiny necklace with a pendant that had a glittery ice crystal in the center. "Oh, wow," gasped Penny. It was the most beautiful necklace she had ever seen. "It's amazing," she whispered. "Thank you." She knew who had made it. Every year, on the day of Pip's birthday, he would collect beautiful things from all around the Arctic and use his skills to make something special for his friends. And this year, he had made her this. But next year, it would be her turn to make him a present. They continued playing until it was time to go back home. The adults would stay and finish up the party, but the cubs had to get back to their igloo before it got dark. Penny, Pip, Sammy and Harry huddled together for warmth as they made their way through the falling snow. The wind was very cold today, so they had to hurry. As they walked, they slid and tumbled in the deep snow. Sammy fell over and landed in a drift, completely covering her in white. When they finally arrived back at the igloo, Penny's mother greeted them. "Did you have fun?" she asked. "It was the best day ever," replied Pip, his cheeks rosy with cold and happiness. Penny and the others nodded in agreement. The next day, the weather took a turn. A blizzard swept across the Arctic, making it impossible to go outside. So Penny and her friends stayed inside their igloos and played games. They pretended they were narwhals swimming in the deep ocean, hunting for fish. They played hide and seek again, but this time they hid inside the igloo. And they even made a fort out of blankets and chairs. When the storm finally passed, the sun shone brightly once more. Penny and her friends went outside to check the damage. To their dismay, they found that the blizzard had destroyed their hill. It had been flattened completely. All those hours spent playing on the hill were now gone. I'm so upset, cried Pip. I loved sliding down that hill. He looked like he was going to cry. Seeing her friend sad made Penny feel sad too. She had to think of a way to cheer him up. She remembered the sparkling glittery paw prints from the day before. Maybe there was another place nearby with an even bigger hill. So she and her friends set off to find another snowy mountain. After walking for a while, they came across a small hill. It wasn't as tall as the last one, but it would do. The friends started to slide down the hill, and soon they were all having great fun once more. After a while, Penny decided to take a shortcut through an ice cave. Inside, glittering crystals sparkled from the ceiling. It looked just like the cave from yesterday. And then she saw it, a huge cavern filled with more glittery paw prints. The prince led them to a large frozen lake. In the middle of the lake was a tall iceberg. And at the top, she could see her friends and family waving. Once again, they had followed the same path as the day before, and they had all met up at the iceberg. On the side of the iceberg was a long, steep slope covered in sparkling ice. It looked like a giant water slide. The friends couldn't believe their luck. Here was a new hill, even better than the last one. And it was all thanks to Penny. She was so happy that her friend Pip was happy. All the animals played on the iceberg until sunset, sliding, tumbling and laughing in the best winter party ever. As the northern lights twinkled above them, they knew they had something very special, a bond of friendship that would last forever. Olive the octopus loves decorating her home. She'd string up colorful coral and decorate it with pretty shells and smooth, shiny rocks. Her 8 arms were perfect for reaching every corner of her den and arranging things just so. But one day a big storm came through and scattered everything. Olive was devastated. Her rock collection was her favorite thing in the whole wide ocean, and now they were all gone. All except one. One little, very shiny rock that had fallen out of her den and onto the sandy bottom. It was too heavy for the current to move. As Olive swam over to her rock, she saw a pufferfish darting around it in circles. "What are you doing?" she asked. "I found this huge rock and I want to hide it in my den," said the pufferfish. "It's so heavy. Can you help me roll it along?" "Sure," said Olive, and together they rolled the rock into her den. "That's one rock I won't be finding anytime soon," she thought. And then she got an idea. She loved decorating her den, but what if she made it a little bit bigger? Using her 8 strong arms, she could rearrange the rocks outside her den, making a path lined with her favorites. Then she could fill the inside with things she'd never have room for before, like a giant clam shell or a whole coral fan. Excited by her idea, Olive went back outside and started rearranging the rocks. A crab saw her and scuttled closer. "Whatcha doing?" he asked. "I'm making a path to my front door so I can have a really nice entrance," she said. "And I'm also going to use my rock collection to decorate the walls." The crab loved the sound of that. He liked having things just so, too. So he offered to help. Together, they worked for a long time, sliding rocks into place and making sure they were nice and level. After a while, Olive wanted to check on her friend the sea turtle. She poked her head out of her den and saw the turtle sunning herself on a nearby rock. "Hi there," said Olive. "I'm redecorating my den and I think it's gonna look so much better. Would you like to come see?" The turtle blinked slowly. "I would like that," she said. They swam into the den. Olive proudly showed off her new rock path and explained how she was going to line the walls with her favorite shells and coral. The sea turtle looked around slowly. "You know," she said finally, "this is all very nice, but it looks a little bare." "Oh dear," said Olive. "I thought it looked perfect." "Well, I do love decorating, too, but maybe you need some taller plants to hide your rocks and some big shells to peek out from behind. Oh, and some sea fans and kelp forest. That would look pretty." Olive's eyes widened. She hadn't thought of any of that. She thought her rock collection was perfect just the way it was, but maybe it did need something else. "Would you like to help me redecorate?" she asked. "I'd like that very much," said the turtle. And so the two friends set to work. Using her 8 strong arms, Olive reached high above her head to tuck kelp fronds into the corners of her den. She used them to make curtains for her doorway, too. She strung up a couple of tall coral heads and made a bed of smaller coral branches. Then she arranged her rock collection just inside the den, hiding the pretty pebbles with patches of green seagrass. Finally, she added some anemones and seahorses for a pop of color. The sea turtle loved it. "This is so much better than before," she said. "You really have a gift for decorating, Olive." But Olive wasn't so sure. Just then, her friend the pufferfish popped his head in the den. "Can I see what you made?" he asked. "Of course," said Olive, hoping he liked it. The pufferfish looked around slowly. He said, "It's not bad. But you know, it needs some bright colors." "Bright colors," repeated Olive. "Oh, yes, like a nice blue sponge or a yellow starfish." Just then, a blue sponge floated past the window. It was the exact shade of bright, cheerful blue that Olive wanted, but it was huge. "Oh my," she said. "I couldn't possibly fit that inside my den." "Well," said the pufferfish, "you could always put it outside. It would make a great start to your rock path." "I've never thought of doing that," said Olive. "It will look so nice." As they carried the sponge outside, they saw the crab rearranging some of the rocks. "Look," said the crab. "We can put the sponge right here beside the path. It will be a nice, cheerful welcome to anyone visiting." "Good idea," said Olive. "Let's put it there." As the 4 friends decorated, each had an idea for what would make the den perfect. The sea turtle suggested draping strands of seaweed like tinsel around the doorways. The pufferfish thought a friendly-looking anemone would be a nice touch near the kelp forest. And the crab suggested lining the floor with small, smooth pebbles. "We're gonna make such a beautiful garden," said Olive happily. After a while, Olive felt exhausted. Decorating was more fun when you had lots of helpers, but it was tiring to keep coming up with new ideas. "Oh my," she said, "I wish I could take a little break." "Why don't you go rest in your garden?" suggested the pufferfish. "My, you must be very tired after all that work." As Olive swam to her den, she noticed she was surrounded by a beautiful garden. The flowers and plants her friends had added were already starting to glow with bioluminescence, their colors shifting from blues to greens to pinks and purples. It was so beautiful. And suddenly she knew what was missing. "I need some lights," she said. Using her 8 strong arms, she gathered up some glowing plants and wove them together to make a chandelier. She hung it from the center of her den and it cast beautiful patterns on the walls. As the light shifted and changed, she decorated the rest of her den with luminous creatures like jellyfish, comb jellies, and sea cucumbers. Even the rock path was lined with glowing pebbles and tiny clams. When her friends saw what she'd done, they gasped. "It's beautiful," said the crab. "You have such a wonderful den, Olive," said the sea turtle. "It's so creative," said the pufferfish. And Olive beamed. She knew they were just saying that because they were good friends. But she was very proud anyway. From that day on, Olive continued to decorate her den with all sorts of pretty things. Sometimes she arranged seashells in a giant spiral. Other times she made a mosaic of pebbles on her floor. But her favorite thing to do was to add new things to her garden, making it grow and change with the seasons. And every once in a while, she'd bring in a new rock, too. Ricky the rhino was determined to win the Great Savannah Race. He practiced every day, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't go as fast as the animals that had been born to run. One day, Ricky was practicing for the race when he saw Chet the cheetah slink past him like a yellow streak.
Ha! Ha!
Chet called over his shoulder, "You'll never catch me, slowpoke." Ricky snorted. "I don't need to be fast like you, Chet," he said. "I just need to be fast enough to win the race." A few minutes later, Ricky was passing by Zeb the zebra's house. He peeked inside. "Good morning, Zeb," Ricky called. Zeb was dozing, so he didn't hear him at first. Then he lifted his head up and stretched. "Oh, good morning, Ricky," he yawned. "What brings you to my humble abode?" I'm training for the Great Savannah Race, Ricky said. But even though I practice every day, I can't seem to get any faster. Well, the key to going fast, my dear Ricky, Zeb said, is to have long, powerful legs like mine. Look how tall they are. They were built for speed. Ricky looked down at his own short legs. I don't think my legs will ever be as tall as yours, Zeb, he said glumly. Don't worry about it, Ricky, Zeb said. You've got plenty of time to stretch out those legs of yours before the race. Just take your time. Ricky nodded, but he still wasn't very confident. A little while later, he passed by Ozzy's house. Ozzy was hanging out with a bunch of other ostriches, all playing a game where they kicked a ball to each other using their giant feet. The ball sailed through the air, then bonked off of Ozzy's foot and landed at Ricky's feet. Hey, Ricky, Ozzy called. Wanna kick the ball with us? No, thanks, Ricky said. I have to train for the race. Oh, right, Ozzy said. Well, if you want some advice on how to go fast, just ask. It's all about having long strides like these. See, this is how we ostriches do it. We take big steps just like this. You could do it, too. Ricky imagined himself taking huge steps like an ostrich. I don't think I can run like that, Ozzy, he said. My legs aren't nearly as tall as yours, and I'd rather go slow and steady than risk tripping over my own feet. Oh, all right, Ozzy said. Whatever you think, buddy. Ricky sighed. Maybe he just wasn't meant to be a great racer after all. As the day wore on, Ricky continued to practice running. He dodged termite mounds and jumped over logs, but he was still feeling pretty discouraged. He plopped down on a nearby rock to rest. I'll never beat Chet or catch up to Zeb or even keep up with Ozzy, he said glumly. Just then, Ellie the elephant walked by. What's wrong, Ricky? She asked. I just wish I could go faster, Ricky said. But I'm slow and I'll never win the race. Oh, silly Ricky, Ellie said. You're slow? Why, you're the strongest rhino I know. You could pull down a tree with those strong horns of yours. You could toss a car like a toy with that massive body of yours. And those legs of yours are built for power, not speed. Ricky thought about what she said. She was right. He might not be fast, but he was strong. Suddenly, there was a loud crash in the bushes, and a large animal came bounding out. It was Lulu the lioness, and she was in a panic. I need your help, everyone, she cried. The river has overflowed and made a dam in the middle of the track. It's too high for me to jump over and too wide for me to swim across. I can't get to the other side. Everyone looked at each other. What were they going to do? I can help, Ricky said. I'll use my strength to clear away the branches and the vines that are blocking the river. Then all of you can cross over one at a time. You sure, Ricky? Ellie asked. Are you strong enough? Ricky took a deep breath and nodded. I'm stronger than I am fast, he said. So Ricky charged forward and rammed his shoulder into the blockage. Vines and branches flew everywhere as the river water rushed over them. Soon, there was a path through the middle of the river for all the animals to cross. Lulu was the first to cross over. Thank you, Ricky, she purred. Now I can get back to the pride and dry off. Ricky watched her go, then turned to the others. All right, who's next? Ozzy stepped forward. I'm pretty heavy, Ricky, so I don't want to risk slipping and sliding around in the water. Can you help me get across safely? Of course, Ricky said. Ozzy hopped onto the path and crossed over without a worry in the world. Thanks, Ricky, he called over his shoulder. Those long strides really helped me stay balanced. Ricky smiled. He was glad Ozzy felt safe enough to cross over. Next, Zeb needed some help. I'm not great at swimming, Ricky, he admitted. Can you help me? Anytime, Zeb, Ricky said. Zeb carefully walked onto the path and trotted across the river. Thanks for the help, Ricky, he said. Those tall legs of mine almost got me stuck in the mud, but I managed to pull myself free. No problem, Zeb, Ricky said. Finally, Chet came up to Ricky. He was panting heavily. I need some help getting across, he gasped. I slipped in the water and twisted my ankle. It hurts. It's okay, Chet, Ricky said. I'll help you. But Chet shook his head. No, you don't understand, he said. I want to race you, Ricky. You push me across and I'll race you back. How about that? Ricky stared at him in disbelief. You want to race me? After I help you? Sure, Chet said, licking his chops. After you push me across, let's start the race again. Ricky felt angry and insulted. You know what, Chet, he said. You're right. I do want to race you. You push me across and I'll race you back. Chet grinned. You're on, he said. Chet pushed Ricky across the river. Ricky stumbled a bit, but quickly found his footing and started to run. He ran past Chet, who was hopping on one foot, and headed toward the finish line. Ricky had never run so fast. He could feel the wind whipping through his fur as he sped along. He glanced back and saw that Chet had stopped hopping and was now slowly walking. Looks like you're not as fast as you thought you were, Chet, Ricky called. Go ahead and walk to the finish line if you want. It's not as far as you think. Ricky picked up the pace and crossed the finish line. He turned around to wait for Chet, but he wasn't there. Ricky looked back and saw him napping under a nearby tree. Ricky walked over to Chet and said, I may not be as fast as you, Chet, or as tall as Zeb, or as graceful as Ozzy, but I am strong. And I'm glad I used my strength instead of wishing I was like one of you. Chet opened one eye and yawned. I guess being fast isn't everything, he said. Sometimes being strong is more useful. Just then, the other animals came bounding over. Did we win? Ricky asked. They were all smiling. We did it together, Ellie said, nuzzling him. That's what matters.